All right, here we go with Dinosaur Boy Chapter 11, That Stupid T-Rex from Jersey. The next morning during computer class, Mr. Broom woke up for long enough to saddle us all with a boring spreadsheet assignment, then promptly went back to sleep at his desk. Almost immediately, people started gathering around Alan's computer just the way they had on that second day of school. And once again, Alan's big head was blocking the screen, so I couldn't see what they were looking at. Uh-oh, I heard Sylvie say. She had taken the computer next to mine. Elliot was on the other side of her, and she had just angled her screen to show Elliot something. I got a sinking feeling in my stomach. What? I asked. Sylvie moved her screen so that I could see it too. It was the Portland Daily News website, and the top headline was, Dinosaur Hybrid Goes Prehistoric, Bites Classmate. Oh, brother. My first reaction was a strange mixture of guilt and confusion. Had I bitten someone and somehow forgotten about it? Who had I bitten? Had I hurt them? My teeth was still quite human, or still quite human, so I couldn't have done any more damage to them than an ordinary human. But then I remembered Amalgam Labs and how I wasn't the only dinosaur hybrid in the world. It was in New Jersey, Sylvie reported, scanning the article. A T-Rex hybrid. He bit another kid in the middle of a soccer game. Well, that's a relief, I joked. I only bite people over volleyball disputes. Sylvie and Elliot both snickered, but the half-dozen kids who were gathered around Alan's computer all turned around and stared at me open-mouthed. I gulped. I hadn't realized they would take this so seriously. I'm kidding, I told them all. I don't bite people. This kid didn't either, Alan said, pointing at his computer screen. They had also been reading the article. Until he did. That kid is a T-Rex, Elliot pointed out, a meat eater. What does that have to do with anything? Cece demanded. As usual, she was right next to Alan, backing him up. I wondered if she ever used her brain at all, or if she just let Alan do all of the thinking for the pair of them. Which didn't seem like the best plan to me, considering how stupid Alan was. Stegosauruses are herbivores. They eat plants, Elliot explained. Then, with exaggerated patience, he added, that means that Sawyer is more likely to attack the fern in the back of the classroom than you. Doubtful. I'm pretty sure it's plastic, I muttered. But nobody was listening to me. A dinosaur is a dinosaur, Cece sniffed. Who cares if he looks like Stegosaurus? He might have the appetite of T-Rex. We won't know until he starts eating us. The article says the kid in New Jersey didn't even need stitches. Sylvie pointed out he wasn't eaten. Oh, sure, Alan rolled his eyes. That school is probably just protecting their dino boy the same way this school protects Sawyer. I opened my mouth to say something in response. I'm not sure exactly what, but before I could say anything, Alan just gave an angry grunt and turned his back on me. Whatever, Sylvie dismissed the whole thing with a wave of her hand. Maybe now they'll leave you alone. Try gnashing your teeth at them every now and then. That might help. Sure, I said, frowning at my computer screen. I had no intention of gnashing my teeth at anybody, but maybe Sylvie was right. Maybe this T-Rex kid gnawing on somebody's arm in New Jersey would turn out to be the best thing that had ever happened to me. What do you guys think? It did not turn out to be the best thing that had ever happened to me. For one thing, staring started again. There had been a lot of staring at the beginning of the year on the playground and in the halls. It had never really gone away completely, but people at our school had gotten somewhat used to having a part dinosaur in their midst, to the point where I could walk the halls without people gasping in surprise or stopping whatever they were doing to gape at me. But now, the gaping was back. Before, I had just been kind of an oddity. My plates were pretty harmless looking, and my tail spikes were always tennis balled, so I don't think it had occurred to anyone to be scared of me. Until now. Now everyone watched me with a mixture of worry and curiosity, as though I was just a heartbeat away from randomly attacking someone in the hallway. I was pretty sure that not a single one of them had bothered to read past the headline to find out what had really happened. I, however, had spent the remainder of the computer class reading every article I could find on the situation, and as far as I could tell, the T-Rex hybrid, a third grader, had bitten a sixth grader on the arm after the sixth grader attacked him for no reason. A school nurse treated the sixth grader's arm with disinfectant and 2 Band-Aids, while the hybrid had landed in the hospital with a broken nose or snout. The articles weren't too clear on the proper terminology for a T-Rex nasal appendage. But all anybody at our school cared about was that a dinosaur hybrid had bitten someone. The reasons and circumstances behind the bite didn't matter at all. What mattered was when I was going to bite someone, and from the looks I was getting, it was clear that the kids at my school decided it was only a matter of time before I chose my first victim. At lunch that day, there seemed to be more space than usual between our table and the rest of the room. We were the same distance from the bathroom as before, so I could only assume the other kids had moved their tables away from us. On the off chance that I decided to go on a biting frenzy, I suppose. The only person who didn't keep his distance from me was the only person I may have actually been inclined to bite. If I had given the matter any serious thought, which for the record I had not. Alan approached the table. You really think you're fooling anybody with that salad butt brain? He gestured angrily to my mixing bowl. I swallowed a bite of tomato and glared at him. What do you want, Alan? I asked, trying to sound bored. He put both his hands on the table and leaned down over me. He kept a smile on his face so the lunch monitor would think it was just a friendly chat, but his voice was shaking with rage as he whispered into my ear, I know you're eating them. Eating who? I asked, not bothering to whisper back. The kids who got kicked out, Alan said, continuing to whisper. That's why no one has heard anything from them. His voice had been loud enough for Elliot and Sylvie to hear. I looked over at them. Elliot's mouth dropped open. Sylvie started giggling. Alan turned to her, his huge eyebrows squished together in a frown. Shut up, fence jumper, he commanded, smiling even brighter for a lunch monitor. He raised his voice to her. I'll bet that's why you hide under that stupid hood all the time, isn't it? You don't want anyone to recognize you. Don't want us to find out your parents are illegal aliens. Sylvie only laughed harder. So hard I was pretty sure we were all in real danger of having pixie stick dust sprayed out of her nose at us. But I didn't think it was funny. I glared at Alan. Don't talk to her like that, I said, hoping I sounded threatening. I didn't come over here to talk to her, he said dangerously. I just want you to know that I know. I know you're eating them. That's crazy, I told him. You're crazy. Why would I eat anybody? Because you're a monster, Alan told me. Just like that kid in Jersey. I knew from the very beginning that it was only a matter of time before you went all dinosaur psycho on us. Shut up, I muttered. Ooh, we don't ever use that word, right, guys? I was so angry my hands were shaking, but I hid them under the table so Alan wouldn't see. Make me, Alan suggested. My hands started to shake harder. It wasn't because I was nervous. It was because I was angry. Get out of here, Alan, Elliot whispered loudly. You don't know what you're talking about. Alan didn't look at him. His squinty eyes buried beneath his eyebrows were focused squarely on me. Sawyer knows what I'm talking about. He's a monster. He doesn't belong in a school. I'm going to prove it. And when I do, they'll put him somewhere safe, like in a zoo or some lab, just as soon as they recognize him for the freak he is. My hands were now shaking so hard they were vibrating the table. I couldn't control myself anymore. I shot to my feet and screamed right in his face. Shut up, Alan. You don't know what you're talking about. At least that's what it sounded like in my head. Out loud, it sounded like, roar. It was the loudest sound I'd ever heard in my life, and I couldn't just hear it, I could feel it. It shook the entire cafeteria. The tables rattled uncontrollably, and people grabbed for their lunches while also trying to cover their ears. It was kind of like we were all standing really close to a bass speaker, only about 100 times louder. I shut my mouth. The sound stopped. There were about 2 seconds of silence. Absolute perfect silence, as all 300-something people in the cafeteria stared at me without moving a muscle. Then the screaming started. Every kid in the cafeteria jumped to his or her feet, knocked over the chair, and scrambled for the exit doors. Only Sylvie and Elliot stayed in their seats. Alan, who'd been knocked on his butt by my roar, made 2 failed attempts to get to his feet before he finally crawled away as fast as he could. He was soon lost in the crowd that was fighting to fit through the double doors that led to the quad. In less time than I would have thought possible, Sylvie, Elliot, and I were alone in the cafeteria. I collapsed into my chair before my knees would give way. Across the table, Elliot looked sheet white and shaken. Only Sylvie looked unaffected. She passed us each a pixie stick and sat back in her chair with a contented smile on her face. Finally, some peace and quiet around here.